everybody, Scuffy here, and doing a little follow-up to the video I put out earlier this week, which was Targetai Yesugai one-turn kill. I had a few people. I was kind of already looking to see if I could port it over into Qin Xa. I had several people asking about that in the video, Reddit, and then within my lodge too, I think. So I went ahead and I did it, and so far so good. I granted play test has only been 4 games, but 4 for 4, a couple different matchups. I did some in practice as well, just because I want to see what it would do against various matchups. It definitely has some weaknesses against particular matchups, which I'll talk about here in a little bit, but I kind of want to break down, show the gameplay, show how it works. Similar, again, very similar to the Yesugai version, but the difference is this one here, we'll do the Tarvitz game, lacks a little bit of the speed that I had with the Yesugai build. And I changed cards. I didn't just straight take the same 30 cards and move it over. I wanted to try a few different cards. I had to go check on the kid in the other room. But it does have Qin Xa's ability to deal damage. He still has high initiative, which is very important. Having high initiative is very important here. And then he's got this ebb and flow, which can come in handy because it kind of works as a multi. If you're able to get 2 fast units down and play ebb and flow, it's like a 2-unit close quarters combat, which is very nice. So it's got a little bit to it, but I changed some cards too because I want to try things. I want to try that 4 energy cost tactic that deals damage and draws the cards from the deck. One thing that my one of the guys in my lodge in the Trader's End group, Gib, GHBBTD, I just call him Gib, recommended, and I was kind of on the fence initially, and I passed it over as one of the cards to try with Yesugai, was Heretica Nekada. Heretic. You'll see it in this game. Hereticana, I think is what we pronounce it. It is it's the Sphincter of Doom. You'll know it when you see it. You'll know it when you see it. It's that card that we thought would never be viable. Probably still is a very niche. You play its 2 energy, and you discard all the tactics in your hand, and you give a vehicle +1 for every tactic discarded that way. It's a very, like, what would that ever be worthwhile? How would you ever use that? Well, we now have several fast vehicles, so you can plop a vehicle down, play that card, and then pump that vehicle up, and it's very efficient for finishing off the 1-turn kill cycle. And as you can see here, I mean, we're in 7 energy now. I'm only at 17 cards, so this deck does run a little bit slower, but I definitely kept several cards. The Targetai Sacrifice, I gotta tell you, that's a great card, not just in terms of fueling in the end game with the 1-turn kill and the warp retreat, but working as a board clear against your opponent as an offensive measure is very useful. Don't be afraid to use it that way. Don't overuse it. Use it smartly. But it's a very good card to purge your opponent's stuff off the board, give you a little bit of breathing room. And still kind of going in with that. I mean, you've got the fast. Play those guys. I think I ebb and flow here, if I remember correctly, to reduce his cost. Reducing cost on this guy is nice. Depending on how your hand looks, getting him for 4 or getting the 4-drop for 2 really can depend on what you want to do or what your options are. Even at that point, if you've got the choice between the 4-drop and the 3-drop, is 1 health, and if your opponent's Warlord has a 2 attack, then it doesn't matter. At that point, you can go for the 3-drop. Big matchups here that I've had problems with when I was testing out really comes down to the and I went with the Storm Seer's Wisdom because I want to heal. We're getting into the late end here, and I figured, okay, if he plays, Tactical Brilliance and the Pride of the Emperor, it's game over. But He doesn't have it. He just goes in here. He goes in quick, and he's at 10. So that gets us right to that point. And I draw my 0. I'm going to go ahead and throw that down. And let's see what else we can get with some void engagement, perhaps. Can we build it up? Or is that enough? No, that's not quite enough to do it. Although I had the Skyfire Thunderhawk to do damage in there too, so I guess that was one way or the other. It was going down, right? I think maybe in one of my other games, then I've got the Heretican. I'll show you in the card list. I'll show you what that looks like. I can't pronounce it for the life of me. Let's do another replay here. So that was that one with Tarvitz. Have one here against Calvert Hall. Yeah, that was a decent one. I wasn't sure what he was doing here. I think he was trying something on his end too, which is good for him. Hereticna. Heretechnica. I'm going to go with that. I'm going to say that is the pronunciation. Ditch all those. Ideally in your opening hand, with this build or the Yesugai build, you want to have an Abandoned Supplies or Asteroid Sanctuary. Command Bridge also works because that increases your chances of maybe finding one of those two. Quick Reflexes is a good thing to have, but you're okay drawing into that. That is a cantrip. It draws a card for you. So you don't have to have it. It's definitely more of a late game is when you're playing it to buy yourself that one turn to get all the pieces of the combo in your hand. So it plays a little differently, as I said, than like the Yesugai. It's a little bit slower. I took out a couple of the cards that drew. I took out the Fastidian Infantry. You don't naturally have the card draw ability that Yesugai has, but I still want to keep in the cards. I still want to get through it, and several games that I've played, especially in practice, I can get down. I can get down to the 0 card mark easy enough, but it's not as fast. That corner Thunderhawk, I think I put in a 4 cost instead of a 1 cost. Like, just little changes like that, just minor changes. But even this ability here, dealing 2 damage to a random enemy, and then if it dies, you can act again, is great. It's a little luck. But even then, you can get random stealth units, like just right there. Like if you're playing against the Raven Guard and they've got their 2 health guys, you can just put some pressure on there, even though it's not guaranteed. You can't pinpoint it. Just the ability to potentially do that can help out a lot. And in fact, if you can do it and act again, if you've got the right setup and a little bit of luck, you can theoretically clear the board. It doesn't do as much with this build. I think there's a better ways to build it if you're looking to use his ability effectively as well as other White Scars cards. Absolutely. But in this particular build, it's okay. Generally, you're playing more cards from your hand than you're using your ability, except in certain matchups. One of the matchups that I ran probably 30 times against myself was just your basic Angron, right? Your aggro deck is just going to attack face. And that is just a hard matchup. I think I won 2 out of those 30. That's a hard matchup with this deck because this is a combo deck. This is a late game combo. Even with the Asteroid Sanctuaries ramping it up to 8 or 9 energy where you can do your work. You are taking a lot of hits. You are taking a lot of tactics that might hit your Warlord directly. You are really trading that. The fact that Angron's attack has 3 stalls the effectiveness of your the 3-drop troop from staying out there and being recycled a second time. There are several tactics within the deck that just kind of become useless, and you've got to have the right draws. And then on top of that, if he juggles his Armored Mars more than once, then it's just an uphill battle. So in that matchup, it's very weak. In matchups where they are pressing front line a lot, it can be hard. But as I've shown with the Yesugai, as well as even here, you kind of see a little bit, there's ways to get around that. There's ways to play around that enough to do what you want to do. and it's not too difficult, you know. I mean, that's a beefy front line that I've got to deal with, and he knows that I've got this 4-drop speeder in my hand, and he's thinking, well, that'll hold him off for a turn or two. And it can, but I've got cards I can return to his hand. I've got that sabotage, and granted that's a top deck, but I've got card drawing potential as well. I've got direct damage, so I've got ways to get rid of it. I think I'm going to hold on to that sabotage for a later use, if I remember correctly. And yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's fun. I gotta say, I enjoy playing. I've only played 4 games against people. I've played a bunch against myself, my other decks in the practice mode, which I, again, just really enjoy that feature. I think that's an awesome feature. I'm glad that they added that, because you can really test things versus the, you know, generic bot decks that are out there. But just the fact that you can test those out and run it, and every game I feel like it's exciting to see the pieces come together. It's a super combo. It's a combo in terms of how you're cycling your deck. It's a combo in terms of how you're playing your cards, as well as when you play your cards, timing it, everything just comes together. When it comes together at once, and you get fast, beefy fast, cycling fast, it feels really good. It feels really fun and enjoyable. And yeah, I give it a try. When we go through this game here, I'll go back into the deck list. I'll kind of show a couple of the changes. I think there's about 3 or 4 cards difference between this one and the Yesugai build. And again, none of these are set in stone. These can all be changed on player preference, on card availability. Some cards are critical. But they are not all mandatory. And it's actually, in terms of deck size, deck scope, I think it's a fairly budgetable deck. There's 1 legendary in the deck currently, and I don't think any of the White Scars legendaries need to be in the deck. I think the difference here, and kind of when we talked about Yesugai, we thought, okay, well, maybe see how Qin Xa compares. I think Qin Xa is very comparable. They do it a little bit differently, but they both can do it effectively. So either Warlord can do this without much problem. And see here, we're setting it up. I know I can take any tactic spam that he's got here. I've got the sabotage and the chance that he throws out a big nasty front line. I'm going to hold on to that. We've got all the pieces. We've got a 0-cost warp retreat. We've got a 0-cost vehicle to get things started. We've got 6 cards in the deck ready to go. All I need to do is draw them up, buy myself some time. If I need to, I can buy myself 1 more turn. And we're set. We're set to cycle everything. And I think this was just a good example. This game here was a good example of when everything comes together. And I'm not sure with his deck. I mean, it didn't seem like a challenge deck, because he's playing decent cards. He's trying to go for a decent strategy. So I think this was just a viable deck with what he had. We've got some damage there to deal damage. We're going to buy ourselves some time, most likely. Yeah, that's so. And that draws a card, so we're drawing even less. We've got a fast. We can throw that guy out there just to do that damage. Make him think about it. He's used his healing. He could generate some front line with that Forge Complex that he has on him. So having that sabotage is good. He plays with the barge instead, so he's got 2. And I can't get rid of that. But that sabotage can get it out of my way. I could also draw the Targetized Sacrifice if I haven't played 2 on this game. I haven't really been paying attention, and get everything back in his deck. That's entirely possible. But I think it wouldn't be necessary at this point, especially when I've got 8 damage in hand to do. Just between this speeder and that speeder, right? So we're going to get rid of 1 front line out of the way. We're going to jam the other front line. And we're going to throw down all of our fast troops. 1 fast. 2 fast. 3 fast. We could throw down 4 fast troops in this 1 turn between the Tanghai and the Kaizian. That's just nice. That's what the White Scars do. That's what they do. That's how they roll, baby. So those two games out of the way, let's take a look at the deck list here. So in terms of cards that are essential, from what I played, first off, Warp Retreat is part of the end game combo. That is essential. That is an epic. That is essential. Absolutely. You will want the fast troops. So you will want 2 and 2 and 2. The two of those are rare. They're not legendary. They're not epic. They're just rare. You may have to shell out some gems if you don't have them when they come into the shop, but they're worthwhile. That's the second part of the combo. Your other crucial piece here is Asteroid's Belt. You've got to have 2 of those. Absolutely. That speeds things up to an immense degree. If you're able to get Command Bridge, that's great. It helps find a piece that you want at that given time, whether you're looking for a close quarters or a quick reaction, or the Warp Retreat, whatever it is. It's very useful. Everything else in here, Stormseer's Wisdom can come in handy for card drawing. It's not crucial. It's not epic. Targetized Sacrifice is very good. Do you need to? I don't know. I enjoy 2. In the games that I've had, I found that 2 is efficient. There have been plenty of games, as I said, like when you're playing against an Angron player, for example, they're not going to have troops. It's not going to do anything for them, let alone are you very rarely going to have enough energy to play a troop and Stormseer's Targetized Sacrifice and survive the next turn. So maybe that could be chumped down for 1 more card, a barge or something like that, maybe. But I'm not really sure. I'm on the fence about that. With this particular build, I think it's essential to consider having 2, if that makes sense. Everything else in here really can be ducked and chosen. Sabotage could be a breach. You could have 2 sabotages. You could have, the Lactitio is very good, very helpful in getting everything speeded up, but Swift Strike is a common. The Tanghai Bikes here are commons. Abandoned Supplies is a common. Even the Thunderhawk here, it's a 4 cost, but it does 4 damage. Potentially drawing a vehicle from your deck, and if it's a vehicle that you put back in at 0 cost, you're getting it for 0. So not a bad card to consider. Do you need 1 or 2? I don't know. I haven't figured it out. Like if you don't have Skyfire, I don't think there's any problem in going for a second Thunderhawk there. So it's a very budgetable deck. It's not a perfect, it's not an all-common deck. It's got some degree of rarity there, but there's only 1 legendary to it, and I think it works pretty good. Now, we looked at Qin Xa. I feel between the 2 of them, honestly, I'm having more fun with Qin Xa. The 5 health makes a difference. It definitely does. You feel like you've got a little bit more breathing room than you have with the Yesugai. Yesuigi's got the card drawing, and I could probably put in 1 or 2 more card drawing things in there to speed that up, but I don't know if it's worthwhile with Qin Xa versus making sure I've got the extra little thing. Like I said, Heretechnica definitely has its value. You're not going to play it every game, but when you can make a 4 attack fast into a 9 attack or 11 attack fast, you see the merit to it. And you don't need 2 as a 1 of. It's nice. Sphincter of Doom. That's what it is. It's real. I think I talked to somebody on Discord about the Sphincter when we first were seeing spoilers here with the White Scars. I'm not sure if it was Creed or somebody else, but I was kind of like, I don't know. And then when I did the Yesugai, I was like, I'm just looking for drawn just to try to get this combo off. And then, like I said, Gib in Trader's End. He's not in Trader's End, but he's in one of those auxiliary lodges. And he mentioned giving it a try. I think he was using it in one of his. And with this build, I found that, it works. Because especially at the end game, when you've got 8 tactics in your hand, that those become ammunition if you can't use them for anything else. So not a bad choice. Not a bad choice. We finally have a faction. We finally have fast vehicles. And a faction that has multiples of them. And multiple ways to put tactics in there. You could very well do it with an Angron, I suppose, with like the speeders, but it's not as good of an exchange, whereas with this deck, this faction, it probably is. I don't know, I'm just talking out of my head at this point. So between these two warlords here, I think I like the Qin Xa version better. I just like having that extra 5 health. It feels more comfortable. I've got a little bit of breathing room. I also do like knowing that if I pay for my ability, I'm getting 2 damage on something. Yesugai, in the times that I've played it and I've used his ability, I've never gotten a 3. I've had people say that you can get 3, so I know that it can happen, and obviously it's worded that way, but generally I get 1 or 2, and usually it's 1 on the Warlord, so it doesn't feel like a fair exchange. So being able to have a guaranteed 2 is nice. If I were to have Jagatai Khan, I don't think this deck right now, as Jagatai is, I don't think it would work with him. Even though he's got very fast, very high initiative, and he goes first, the fact that he starts with less energy puts him behind, regardless of what his ability is. I'm not even talking about his ability. And I mean, it'd be nice to have the 5 extra health on top of that, and potentially a Reckoning, which would be very viable with this deck. But starting with 1 less energy, you can't even play your Asteroid Sanctuary until your 3rd turn, as opposed to your 2nd turn with Qin Xa or Yesugai. So, as he stands now, it wouldn't work. It would not be as effective. If he were to be changed and that energy reduction gets taken away, at some point it most likely will, or he'll get some other benefit to it. He'll get additional cards in hand, whatever the case may be. Maybe, but as he is right now, I would say your best bet is Qin Xa. Yesugai is definitely up there, and they're both viable. They both can make it work. It can happen, and it's fun. It's fun playing by the seat of your pants, but knowing that you're on track. It's not just wild and reckless. There's a method to your madness, and then when you do it, and your opponent just is like, what? Like you can almost sense the shock, the awe. You like to think that. I mean, at least I like to think that, because it's bad enough when people say, "Oh, it's a fast deck, it's a fast vehicle." Oh, 3. Oh, he's got 2 of them. But then you throw those tactics out there where you're cycling them back, or you're pumping them up, or you return them to your hand, and all of a sudden, instead of just it being a threat that they saw one time, they're seeing the same threat 3 or 4 times from just that one card, and then they start thinking, what is going on? What is going on? And I like the idea of that interaction, that cerebral play. So that's it for me, guys. I just wanted to do a follow-up. I wanted to show that off. Qin Xa, 1-turn kill. Very possible. Again, using a lot of the same tools that the Yesugai uses. A couple cards difference, mostly for preference and trying things out. There's probably about 3 or 4 cards in here that you could tweak and move around. I wouldn't move too many, as the cards that I pointed out that are critical. Definitely you need to keep in there. You could probably put in a couple more troops. I think the Yesugai, I think I've got 8 troops in there, right? Hang on. Boop, 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 boop. What does the Yesugai have? Let's take a look at it. By comparison, I can't line these up side by side. Yeah, he's got 8 troops. So there is some difference there, right? I think I've got the 2 Facidian. I've got, what do I have? I've got, I can't even take, I mean, obviously, I know that's not the only change. Is that the only change? 2 quick reaction, 2 warp retreat, 2 abandon. Maybe it is just the 2 Facidians. I thought he had changed another card or 2 outside of it, but I guess I haven't. Okay. Okay, well, you can do it that way. It's not perfect, again, as I did in the first video. I mean, there's definitely cards I'd like to try out in there and see how they work, and I did that with a couple of them with regards to the Qin Xa build, and I think the Qin Xa build works too. I put in the Thunderhawk. I feel like I put in more than that, though. And the Heretechnica. I think I had 2 close quarters, and I think I scaled it down to 1, but maybe I'm looking at quick reaction. I don't know. It's so tight. It's so tight, but at the same time, you will see those cards in the game that you play. So it's not like you're playing like, yeah, what are the odds of me seeing them? You might not see them at the start of the game, but through the course of the game, you're going to go through your deck. You're going to see just about every single card in your deck. Some of them you'll see multiple times because you're cycling them back through. It can work. It's very doable. Take it, look at it, build it, dissect it, make it your own, play it, test it out, enjoy it. It's not unbeatable by any means, as we've already talked about in the Yesugai video. As a combo-based deck, it has weaknesses. You can disrupt the combo several different ways. It definitely has weaknesses against more direct aggro decks because you're leaving yourself open while you're building up your combo. But for a lot of those mid-range decks or control style decks who are taking the time to set their stuff up, while they're taking that time, you're initiating the kill strike essentially, and that feels fun to play for a while. I think that's going to be a fun way to go about it for me for a while. So with all that being said, if you found this was useful, informative, you liked the video, you liked the deck, information is worthwhile, please subscribe, like the video, leave me a comment below, let me know what you think. Let me know if you're trying this out, if there's cards that you think you could change things out of. How would you go about building the one-turn kill? Do you prefer Qin Xa versus Yesugai? By the way, this Qin Xa art is just awesome. I dig it as an in-house artwork by Everguild. I didn't know what he looked like. I hadn't paid attention to the Forge World model, but this art, it just nails some emotion for me. I dig it. But yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think, and good luck out there if you're playing it. And hopefully I've got a couple days here before I get into the next thing. We'll be doing some warp chatter with the Lodge Wars 4, the Lodge Warriors warp chatter. We're going to be talking about what the tournament is looking like presently. I want to go over the event if I can, if I've got time for it, as well as we're just about at that point to do some card by cards. I'm holding off on Blood Angels for just a little bit longer to see if they do some changes to them. But once they do, I'm going to do a card by card for Blood Angels. They're first on the list, so we'll see. Yeah, that's it for me, guys. Until then, have fun, keep playing Legions, and we will talk to you next time. Bye.